Hello there, and welcome to the 11th episode in the Brand Bewitchery series on the business of story. I'm your host, Park Howell, and author of Brand Bewitchery. If you've listened to all 10 chapters right here on the show, then you've been through, all 10 steps of the story cycle system to craft your brand story strategy. Congratulations. Now it's time to align your people with your narrative, debut your story to your colleagues, customers, and the communities you serve, and scale it throughout the world to 10x your growth, and then some. I'll show you how as I take you through chapters 11 and 12 of Brand Bewitchery, all with the intent of scaling your new brand story. When you look at the story cycle system, you'll notice that it's not a closed loop circle like the hero's journey is. And as you know, the hero's journey is what inspired me to create the story cycle system. But instead of that closed loop, I wanted to picture it as a spiral. That's right, a virtuous circle that spirals and expands customer engagement with every revolution, from brand awareness, where your customers first learn about you and your offering, to brand adoption, when they first buy into what you have to offer, ultimately leading to brand appreciation, when they become repeat customers and happily share your story with their world. For the most persuasive form of advertising there is, you know what that is, free word of mouth marketing, as they scale your brand story for you. Well, I realized after rereading Brand Bewitchery throughout this series that the virtuous spiral of the story cycle system is really like a flywheel. You know, that popular metaphor in the startup world. The flywheel effect occurs when small wins accumulate over time, creating momentum that keeps your business growing. At least that's the way they talk about it in the tech world. And I thought, man, you know what? That is exactly what storytelling is and what the story cycle system is all about. Now, think about this. One of the most popular illustrations of the flywheel effect designates 4 audiences on the outside of the circle. So picture this with me. We're going to put strangers right at the top of the flywheel, basically, at the 12 o'clock position, followed by prospects at the 3 o'clock mark. Customers are at the bottom of the flywheel at the 6 o'clock mark, and promoters are at 9 o'clock. The idea, of course, is to turn strangers into prospects, converted into customers who grow into promoters, and the wheel continues on. Well, inside the flywheel are the 3 acts of attract, engage, delight. And at the hub of the flywheel is the word growth, because that is the whole intent of the flywheel in the first place. Continuous virtuous growth through this idea of attracting strangers, engaging them from prospects into customers, and delighting them so they become promoters, and the flywheel continues on, right? Now, let's apply that flywheel effect to growing your brand and business through the story cycle system. Now, you've heard the popular truism that people buy from people they know, like, and trust, right? It's interesting. Just 3 words. You might think of them as 3 acts. The universal tripartite structure to story. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. You and your brand need to become known, even famous, through the focused brand narrative you share on purpose to the world. You must be known and popular to grow your business. That's the beginning of the brand storytelling flywheel. Once known, you also must be liked. I mean, we know a lot of people in organizations that we don't necessarily like, right? So to become liked, you, your colleagues, your marketing people, and your sales team need to know how to effectively share your brand stories to become even more likable, which speeds up the momentum of your storytelling flywheel. Now that you're better known, grown even more likable by delivering on the promises you make in your storytelling, trust comes easy. And with trust comes repeat business, lifelong customers, and promoters who, as I mentioned earlier, will happily share your story with their world, leading to what? Being even better known, immensely more likable, and the trusted leader in your market. And the virtuous spiral rotates once again. The storytelling flywheel. I can show you and your people how to activate the storytelling flywheel to grow your business by being better known, 10x your sales by becoming even more likable, and how to nurture lifelong customers and the free word-of-mouth marketing they bring with them. You can learn all of this through my Business of Story Mastery course and keynotes. Whether it's a team of 200 plus professionals, a cohort of 25, or one-on-one coaching, you and your people will benefit from my more than 20 years of scholarly study on business and organizational storytelling. Plus, I consult, teach, coach, and speak on the power of story around the world as I share our 3 proven narrative structures. Now, here's the thing. Storytelling is not what I do. It is who I am. And I love to share this and level up you and your people's storytelling skills. If you're interested, please shoot me an email to park@businessofstory.com. If you want the whole story of how I got into this from the very beginning, then check out my bio at businessofstory.com and you'll see what I mean. I just don't do storytelling. Storytelling is in my soul. So let's start activating your storytelling flywheel right now as I roll you through chapters 11 and 12 of Brand Bewitchery to scale your new brand story. Let's do it. Chapter 11, How to Craft Your Brand Trailer to Hook Your Audiences. Quote, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, end quote. Jeff Bezos, Amazon. In a world where you just settled into your faux leather movie seat, a bucket of popcorn drooling with a butter-like substance warms your lap. You carefully place your flattish soda, the price of a flute of Dom Perignon, in the cup holder to your right. Centering yourself, you drape napkins across your chest and thigh as if you were, well, at an Amish picnic. To your left, you notice the lady in the next row feverishly texting on her iPhone. You hope she finishes soon. The theater dims in anticipation of the movie trailers, but this only makes the addicting, self-indulgent glow of her digital demon even more annoying. I digress with this public service announcement, but leave your damn phone in your car. And then it begins. In a world where the ominous voiceover and tones following the "this review is rated for all audiences" notice. Hollywood knows they only have a moment to capture your attention in around 2 minutes to part you from $40 for your next movie ticket and requisite concessions. The trick is selling you on their coming $120 million blockbuster through an irresistible trailer, a mere 120-second tale. They intrigue you with the plot by teasing you with the movie's central mystery without spoiling the ending. The movie trailer must be compelling enough to overcome all of the other distractions to win over the likes of that lady in front of you, who's finally putting her phone away. Cuss all you want about her. We all have our moments in the shun due to the distraction of our digital devices. And that's exactly the goal of this chapter. We're going to pull together all the story elements, the foundation for your epic brand narrative that you've developed in the past 10 steps of the story cycle system, and use them to create your very own movie trailer to capture the attention of and set the stage for your audience. You've been busy scripting and directing your brand story, and now you have returned to your ordinary world through this journey with what Joseph Campbell called the boon. The boon you've earned, or you might think of it as a reward or treasure, is the clarifying of your brand story through the story cycle system. This hard-earned clarity will help you amplify your impact in the world and actually simplify your life. Plus, the boon represents the sum of knowledge you've gained in how to craft and tell compelling stories that sell. You have learned the applied science of storytelling as you've conjured your important story elements. These foundational elements are what will create your epic brand narrative and guide your customer from engagement to evangelism. Your narrative ingredients include your position statement, unique value proposition, the 9 brand descriptors, and your promise, gift, personality, and purpose. The authenticity of your story elements is influenced by what you make happen in the lives of your target audiences, the heroes of your brand story. You've detailed what's at stake for them and what they wish for and want, and what triggers their will to act. You've also scripted how to make your story their story through the 3 acts of customer engagement, which consist of brand awareness, adoption, and appreciation. And to build repeat business, you're mapping how to ritualize the use of your offering through each of the 3 acts. That's the applied science of storytelling. You've also seen its bewitchery in action through the anecdotes shared in this guidebook. Plus, you may have witnessed the magic of these story structures in your own life by wielding the and, but, and therefore narrative framework, or the 5 primal elements of a short story for big impact, when you relate anecdotes to your audiences and see their appreciative reactions. Once you've completed this final story exercise, in the next chapter, I will walk you through a communications plan that will help you determine how best to launch your epic brand story to the world. But first, let's hook them with your trailer to cast the storytelling spell. You will coalesce your story elements into a compelling brand trailer to capture the attention and interest of your audience. Plus, your trailer works as a concise touchstone that all your content creators can refer to when crafting their brand stories. Crafting your brand trailer. Here's how the business of story trailer has come together. Use it as an example for the development of your own brand trailer. Backstory. Brand position. The business of story is the #1 resource for leaders of purpose-driven brands to clarify their stories, amplify their impact, and simplify their lives with the proven power of the story cycle system. Heroes or target audiences. #1, founder/CEO of purpose-driven challenger brand. #2, director of branding, marketing, sales, or human resources. #3, the industrious executive. Disruption. The business of story unique value proposition is excel through the stories you tell. Mentor. My brand descriptors include mage, industrious, optimistic, primal, dynamic, truth, clarity, connect, and trust. Brand promise. Enchantment. Brand gift, to excel. And the brand personality is magician, with secondary archetypes of jester and sage. Moral, or the brand purpose. The business of story exists to help people live into and prosper from their most powerful stories. From all of the above, including exploration of the more operational chapters of stakes, antagonists, journey, victory, and ritual, I have crafted my final brand story trailer. Notice how I use the ABT to structure my problem statement for the solutions the business of story provides. This is a foolproof way, and I should know, to formulate your brand trailer. The business of story trailer.
In a world where leaders of purpose-driven brands wish to make a significant social impact and seek a proven path to grow revenue, expand their reach, and inspire their people, but are frustratingly ineffectual because they don't operate through the lens of a focused brand narrative, the Business of Story Communications Training Program is their only hope. Here, Industrious professionals learn the applied science and bewitchery of storytelling by summoning the optimistic forces of the story cycle system to clarify their stories, revealing a passion people can align with. Amplify their impact by connecting communities with a common vision. And simplify their lives through a well-scripted mission. Creating abundance for all through a more powerful and prosperous brand story. Told on purpose.
You see, we had fun with it, and you can too. So now it's your turn. From the previous 10 chapters, capture your brand story elements. Then write your brand trailer using the following template to get your audiences to turn their attention from their iPhones, popcorn, and soda pop to you. Begin with, in a world where your target audiences wish to fill in the blank and want fill in the blank, but the problem you solve for, fill in the blank. Therefore, your brand name and solution, fill in the blank. To help them achieve live happily ever after, fill in the blank. How to release your brand trailer. You can have fun with this exercise. Be as theatrical as you like. Ways to use your new brand trailer with your people include share the script with your people as you read it aloud in your best in a world where narrator voice. Produce an audio recording complete with sound effects and music to send throughout your organization, demonstrating the passion you have for your new brand story. Produce a short video or film, just like a Hollywood trailer, that expresses the personality of your new brand story in living color to all of your audiences. Regardless of the creative ways you will come up with to disseminate your trailer, leverage it to memorialize the exciting new vision and mission of your organization as told through your brand story. But now, how do you debut your epic brand story to the world? Well, turn the page and let's begin designing your comprehensive communications plan in Chapter 12 of Brand Bewitchery. Chapter 12, How to Debut Your New Brand Story. The 7 essential phases for introducing your brand to the world. Quote, marketing is no longer about the stuff you make, but about the stories you tell, end quote. Seth Godin. How, when, and where to tell your brand story. Congratulations, you're now a brandthropologist of sorts. You've used the primal power of the story cycle system to unearth your brand story. But how, when, and where do you share your new narrative with the world? When my wife Michelle and I were at Engaged Encounter 32 years ago in preparation for our marriage, one lady in the group asked the priest, when is a good time to have your first child? His response was classic. He said, the first child can come along at any time. The second one usually takes around 9 months. The same is true with your brand story. As you've been birthing it, you may already be applying elements of it in your marketing. But if you have waited for it to come full term, then this chapter outlines 7 critical phases for launching your new brand story. But first, ask yourself these questions as you devise your communications launch strategy. Number 1, do you need to name or rename your organization, offering, or initiative to reflect your new brand story? Number 2, do you need to design or redesign your logo and business systems, including business cards, stationery, presentation templates, and brand style guide to express your story? Number 3, do you need to create or recreate your vision, mission, and values statements to frame your freshened brand ethos? 4, what are all the initial marketing, communication, sales, and human resources materials you will need to create/recreate to reflect the authentic look, tone, and feel of the character and personality of your brand through your internal and external storytelling? 5, Do you need to design or redesign your website to convey your brand story? Probably. Number 6, do you need to create and install new business signage? 7, how will you get your internal audiences, including staff, employees, leadership, and stakeholders, to buy into and align with your new brand story so they own and willingly share it? 8, what communications channels, including paid and earned media, inbound and outbound marketing, direct mail, events, promotions, and public relations, will you use to share your story? And number 9, how will you deploy a concerted launch plan to announce your new brand story to the world? I know that's a ton to consider, so I've broken it into 7 primary brand launch implementation phases to make the tasks easier to process. These phases include brand story strategy creation, which you've just completed, creative theme development, website creation, employee engagement, communications plan development, campaign elements creation, and external campaign launch. It's important to note that these phases can be executed simultaneously, as reflected in the timeline graphic below, all culminating in the external brand launch. Phase 1, brand story strategy creation, 4 to 8 weeks. If your brand story creation is a DIY project guided by this book, then it's probably taken you 4 to 8 weeks to dial it in. That's typical. For reference, I find it often takes 2 months for the business of story to guide the brand story creation process with an organization and its leadership, depending on their availability and responsiveness. The fully guided brand story strategy creation process follows this pattern. In months 1 and 2, we will create the brand story strategy. Starting in month 2, we will also capture real-world stories for internal and external content marketing. After the first 2 months, which is really focused on developing your brand narrative, we start focusing on a number of initiatives in month 3. These include an employee storytelling engagement initiative, creative campaign theme development, logos and corporate ID systems design, strategizing and developing the new brand story communications plan, and of course, diving into website creation. By month 5, you're creating marketing and sales collateral materials, advertising creative production, social media asset creation, and public relations planning and production. By month 6 at the latest, you want to be launching your campaign. The brand story strategy creation process starts by the client capturing their thoughts, as well as any relevant market and competitor research in the DIY workbook, and shares it with us. We review their input and then take them through a 4 to 6 hour in-person discovery session, testing and sharing their assumptions with their team to begin building consensus. From what we learn, we take up to 3 weeks to explore their market research, consider their audiences, and formulate our initial brand story insights. We present our findings and what we believe to be their authentic brand story for their consideration. Within 48 hours of that presentation, the client provides us with their feedback on our brand story elements. We refine and revise the final elements and craft their brand story trailer. Now their brand story strategy is complete. Your own experiences in Phase 1 will probably roughly correspond to this pattern. Phase 2, creative campaign theme development. This takes 4 to 6 weeks. Now you must determine what your new brand story looks, sounds, and feels like as it is communicated through all of your internal communications, advertising, marketing, and sales channels. Once you have your brand story elements, including position statement, target audiences, unique value proposition, brand promise, gift, personality, and purpose, it's time to design the creative theme, which involves elements like color palettes, photographic and illustrative styles, and other visual motifs, and the tone of the content for your storytelling. This is when your creative team explores numerous messaging themes to create the most compelling and consistent expression of your new brand story. The final creative theme will inform the design and creation of your logo and business systems, signage, website, internal employee engagement campaign strategy and elements, external advertising and promotional campaign strategy and elements, inbound and outbound marketing strategy and creative, sales and marketing materials and presentation strategy and templates, trade show displays and event graphics, and public relations strategy and messages. This process of ideation results in the presentation of up to 3 different campaign theme directions, and then selecting and fine-tuning the winning theme. It takes 4 to 6 weeks typically, and the goal is to arrive at a creative messaging theme that expresses your brand's character and personality and makes your audiences care about your celebrated purpose, what you make happen in their lives, through how you tell your story. By the way, if you need to design or redesign your logo and business systems to reflect your new brand story, then plan on taking 6 to 8 weeks for the logo design process. Some of this creative development and design time can be done during phase 2, but a word to the wise. Logos are so subjective that sometimes you find a winner quickly and other times it can feel like a death march. But in the end, the right logo will bring your brand story to life. Phase 3, website creation, typically 3 to 4 months. Once your creative theme is selected, it's time to apply it to your most prominent storytelling medium, your website. The assessment, planning, strategy, and scoping of your new website can happen during the creative theme development phase as well. That way you can design and build your site immediately upon the selection of your campaign theme. Depending on the size and scope of your website, you should plan 3 to 4 months for its creation and launch. Of course, this can be expedited depending on the availability of content and resources and the responsiveness of your team to design and production deadlines. Phase 4, Employee Storytelling Engagement Initiative, about 10 to 14 weeks. Getting your internal audiences to buy into and align with your new brand story is critical. I hesitate to even call this phase 4 because hopefully you already started this process with the team you gathered to help you define your brand story strategy. But now it's time to enroll the rest of your people. The most successful employee engagement initiatives follow these 3 steps. Number 1, build a guiding coalition of internal influencers. Step 2, celebrate early wins. Step 3, anchor behavior change. Step 1, building a guiding coalition of internal influencers. The goal of step 1 is to identify and enroll the primary influencers in your organization who have the ear and respect of their colleagues. They will become ambassadors for the organization's mission as communicated through its refined brand story strategy. Selection of the influencers will not be based on position or pay grade, but on how well they can unite their colleagues across all departments into the shared journey. This step has 3 objectives to be achieved in the first 10 weeks. Objective number 1, inform influencers about the genesis of your new brand story to get them to buy in and own it. This is best done in small meetings where they can ask lots of questions. You will also get a good read from the exchange on how they are embracing your new brand story. Objective number 2, teach them how to spot, capture, and share stories with your organization and the community that supports each of the 9 brand descriptors you identified in Chapter 6, Mentor, and how to activate those stories as you learned in Chapter 7, Journey. We provide an 8-week story mastery program to enroll your people into becoming brand story ambassadors. It starts with a half-day Business of Story masterclass that shows them why storytelling is now more important than ever to hack through the noise and hook the hearts of their audiences. I teach them the 2 proven narrative frameworks of the ABT and the 5 primal elements of a short story for big impact. And then I show them how to spot, capture, and share their powerful short stories based on the 9 brand descriptors to support the overall narrative. As their stories come to life, they become co-creators of your brand story. causing them to buy into and align with your mission. This course leads to objective number 3. Coach them how to train their colleagues to capture these same kinds of stories, to prove the brand position, inspire the impact they're having on their colleagues, your customers, and the communities you all serve, and to co-create content for the overall campaign. You can start building your guiding coalition of influencers at any time. In fact, as you're crafting your brand story, you may want to develop a list of the people you plan to recruit as your story ambassadors. Enrolling them into the brand story and subsequent training starts with a half-day session that kicks off the 8-week Story Mastery course that I mentioned above. It's critical to inform them about the story, teach them storytelling techniques, and train them how to train their colleagues as you build a storytelling culture within your organization. Step 2, celebrate early wins. You will start celebrating early wins as your influencers begin seeing your brand ethos and purpose in action through the stories they collect and share. Build on these wins through the training of your influencers to exponentially grow the belief in your brand story. They will in turn teach their colleagues how to do the same with the stories they experience and share. You are now scaling your stories and seeing the fruits of robust internal word-of-mouth marketing. This is important because there is no stronger bond than when two people connect their worlds through a shared story, which helps them picture a more rewarding future together. Plus, these stories provide invaluable raw content to power both your internal and external campaigns. Your people will experience even more ownership, and you will be enjoying their buy-in when they see how the top stories from their efforts are woven into your overall campaign. This further motivates your team of brand story co-creators. Step 3, anchor behavior change. The first goal of these initial storytelling efforts is to get your people to buy into and align with your new brand story. The second objective is to inspire them to grow their positive attitudes and behaviors in concert with your brand's core purpose. These stories are not just demonstrable, but aspirational. They act as examples of the kinds of healthy and productive interpersonal, customer, and community relationships you aspire to make happen in the hearts and minds of everyone your brand touches. As your external brand campaign rolls out, you can launch a fun and empowering internal story quest competition among departments and colleagues. The idea is to have each group develop their own stories every week and share them with your communications team. Then, on the following Monday, you can share the top stories with your organization. What will you be accomplishing? How about this? Celebrate these moments that illustrate your brand purpose and the impact you're having in the world. Demonstrate the new brand story in action. Remember the hot, thin air syndrome? Encourage all team members to emulate these attitudes and behaviors. Trigger other stories and colleagues that build on the brand ethos. Inspire pride in their work and the adoption of the brand purpose. Illustrate the uplift that is happening to colleagues, customers, and the community. Build camaraderie to get everyone living into and prospering from your focused journey. And finally, help them excel through the stories they tell. Outline, Masterclass, and Story Mastery course. As you know, storytelling is powerful in business, and more purpose-driven brands are using it to grow their organizations and their people. But story is difficult to master unless you intentionally use it every single day. Therefore, you can take advantage of the Business of Story's proven Story Mastery course to help you and your influencers learn narrative skills, apply them daily in your work, and become an accomplished brand storyteller. We kick off week 1 of the program with a half-day masterclass for your influencers, and then follow up with 6 weekly story quests that build their storytelling skills through real-world application. We culminate with a 60 to 90-minute live online workshop to coach your cohort Through these activities, your influencers will understand how you arrived at your brand position, promise, gift, personality, and purpose. Learn how to use the and, but, therefore narrative framework to create a focused theme for every communications piece. Make their communications more compelling by applying the 5 primal elements of storytelling to stories that are themed on your 9 brand descriptors. Create engaging presentations, proposals, white papers, and other longer-form communications using the story cycle system that follow a narrative arc your audiences can't resist. Become adept at spotting stories in the wild for use in building internal trust and belief in the brand and serving as content for your inbound and outbound marketing. Develop a story library for employee engagement, marketing, and outreach. And finally, creating a common storytelling language around your new brand story and a powerful storytelling culture filled with camaraderie. The interactive sessions are tailored with your direction to meet the exact needs of your influencers. In the Brand Bewitchery book, I share with you a minute-by-minute outline of what the Week 1 in-person story mastery course training looks like. In Week 2, we explore the and, but, and therefore assignment and worksheet to encourage daily use. Week 3, we use the 5 primal story elements to create brand descriptor stories. Week 4, how to share your stories with others through water cooler moments, presentations, etc. Week 5, we use brand descriptors to create story categories and organize your content. Week 6 is kind of like a train the trainers. We teach your colleagues how to teach their colleagues the use of the ABT and the 5 primal elements of story for their brand descriptor stories. Week 7, we build your story library for employee engagement, community outreach, and inbound and outbound marketing. Week 8, finally, is a 60-minute live online coaching session with your team to bring it all together. Here's a nice bonus. Your team's work during the Deliberate Practice program will inevitably reveal powerful stories that you can use as content for your employee engagement initiatives, website, community outreach, advertising, sales promotion, and inbound and outbound marketing. By following this employee engagement program, you are ensuring their buy-in and alignment with your brand story, teaching them how to spot and capture stories in the wild, coaching them how to enlist the support of their colleagues, and furnishing your marketing team with compelling content that will trigger additional stories, not to mention belief and pride in your new brand narrative and purpose. That's the beautiful thing about stories. They become self-fulfilling prophecies. Phase 5, Communications Plan Development, 6 to 8 weeks. You've determined how you will tell your brand story with the development of your creative theme. This creative exercise also inspires you with ideas about when and where you will share your story. But you must first determine your available financial and personnel resources to launch and maintain your brand story through your internal and external campaigns. I recommend creating an 18-month communications plan that includes Phase 1, launch strategy and duration. This is brand awareness phase. Phase 2, customer acquisition and engagement, brand adoption. Phase 3, building repeat business and word-of-mouth marketing through ritual and loyalty. This is brand appreciation. Your communications plan will consider the use and timing of all traditional and digital channels, including internal communications, including digital platforms, events and training, brochures, sales materials, presentations, and other collateral, paid and earned digital media, social media, content marketing, email marketing, influencer marketing, broadcast TV and radio, print, newspaper and magazine, direct mail, events and promotions, public relations, customer relations, vendor relations, shareholder relations. Ultimately, you will scope your 18-month plan, strategize your corporate communications as well as your inbound and outbound marketing efforts, create production and media schedules, and determine your overall budget. Your budget will also include the investment needed to create your campaign elements, including creative assets for advertising, marketing, sales, and social media. Phase 6, Campaign Elements Creation, 8 to 12 weeks. Guided by your media plan and the requirements of your planned outreach activities, you will need to create your campaign's creative assets. These assets will be built upon the consistent campaign theme developed in Phase 2. The design, writing, and production of creative assets may include signage if you have a new or redesigned logo, internal posters, brochures, and training programs, sales brochures, materials, presentations, and other collateral, static ads, infographics, GIFs, and videos for digital advertising, blog writing, infographics creation, and video production for social media, content development for email marketing campaigns, materials for influencer marketing, TV and radio commercials, print ads for newspaper and magazines, direct mail production, lists and postage, planning and materials for events and promotions, retainers or writing and placement costs for public relations, materials for customer, vendor, and shareholder relations. I know what you're thinking. Wow, this brand storytelling thing is a costly, time-consuming endeavor. But think of it this way. You will have plenty of time on your hands and less income if you do nothing. Because who knows what will happen to your brand if you remain in status quo or go about it half-heartedly. Besides, you want the true story about your real-world impact to be shared widely and wildly, right? Phase 7, External Campaign Launch. You've arrived, and it's time to let the world know. You've crafted your brand story strategy and probably have a new or freshened logo and website. You have your team bought in, aligned, and excited about sharing your story because now it's their story. Your plan is in place, budget's finalized, creative work done, and you're ready to hit the airwaves and the internet. Make sure that your orchestrated external launch weaves seamlessly with your internal campaign. Celebrate how your team has come together to co-create the campaign and find ways that they can share and scale your story on their terms in the communities you serve and where they live. Final thoughts. This chapter is a high-level overview of what to consider when rolling out your new brand story. Please use this as a guide, but don't be limited by it. I encourage you to be as creative as you like, tapping into the unique personality of your brand to inform other strategies and tactics that will help you stand out in our noisy world. But most of all, remember this one thing as you grow as a confident and compelling storyteller, that the most potent story you will ever tell is the story you tell yourself. So make that one a great one. Story on, my friend. Hey, if you found this episode and the Brand Bewitchery series helpful, well then please share it with anyone you know who will benefit by becoming a more confident and persuasive communicator to help them scale their storytelling, build their business, and 10x their sales. Our theme music is composed by Darius Holbert, marketing by Marissa Hill, and of course the show is edited by the one and only Caden Howell. If I can help you and your team excel through the stories you tell, hit me up at my contact page at businessofstory.com or shoot me a note to park@businessofstory.com. Would love to talk to you about in-person training, virtual and hybrid mastery courses, keynotes, or even send you a link to our do-it-yourself storytelling training. Please join us next week when we will close the Brand Bewitchery series as I show you how to use the story cycle system for your long-form communications and presentations. Plus, we'll have a fun return to my origin story and how this whole business story thing came together in the first place. Until then, remember, the most potent story you'll ever tell is the story you tell yourself. So make that one epic. I'll see you next week.